Hey everybody, I'm Chris Silvius. This is going to be exposing lies in modern science curriculum. Me and Iger, as soon as he jumps on, we're going to be talking about several lies that are being presented in the science curriculum being used in most public schools that are in America and even in the other parts of the world. These are easily debunked. The evidence that they're using for evolution theory in the textbooks is very elementary and dumb. Just like the entire theory, it's actually a religion, and it's the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of the world. So we're gonna wait for Iger to jump on, and then we'll get started. Just give me 1 second here. And here is the main
Hello, hello.
Iger television.
You're muted again, bro.
I'm muted.
Yeah, I can't hear any audio. I just hear you. I see you moving your mouth. You always do this, bro. I don't know. I don't know what happens. Like the last time, the stream we did last time too.
What about now?
Something happens, and then for some reason, you always muted in the beginning.
1 second.
There was one time you had a pop up that came up, and then it muted you some kind of way. And today, you mute again, bro.
I'm gonna fix it.
You might have to restart. I could play that Can't Haben video, 15 minutes. He goes over the lies. I don't know. That's good.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me open up a new tab. Sure. YouTube. That's actually the one I want to play. Straight on my homepage. But this doesn't have any audio for some reason. Oh. Yeah. I don't have audio in my video. So weird. Oh.
Explosion in history.
Chris, I apologize. You want to hear something silly, bro?
Yeah.
Yes, boys and girls, you see, nothing exploded, and here we are. So I asked this professor if I could ask him some questions about the Big Bang. I said, where did all this matter come from? He said, well, we don't know that for sure. I said, well, sir, would you please tell me where the laws came from?
What's going on? Hey, my bad, bro. My bad. That was me. It wasn't you.
You're
Thought it was
good.
you this whole time. I had headphones plugged into the laptop, and then I
Yeah.
couldn't hear anything. I thought it was you.
I'm having big problems here.
Oh man, sorry about that. All right, let's start over, bro. Start from the beginning. I'll stop sharing my screen now. I felt real silly. Yep. Hello, guys. My name's Iger Television. I don't know how to use the computer.
It wouldn't fix my audio. Can you hear me?
Dude, it was me the whole time. My headphones were plugged into I had some headphones plugged into the laptop, and then I didn't realize it. So I'm like, I can't hear anything, but there was
Oh,
headphones
so you
plugged
can
in
hear
there.
me now?
The whole time it was me, bro. I didn't realize there was headphones plugged into the laptop. So
Yeah.
it was,
So you can hear me. I'm coming through?
yeah, man, loud and clear. It was my fault all along.
Oh, sweet.
That was so ridiculous, bro.
Oh, it's fine.
Let's
Because you can download these
start from the
videos later after they're already posted and then repost it if I need to edit stuff out. So obviously, the first 10 minutes, I'm just trying to get stuff set up, but it's going to be great. So
all
let me
right.
share the screen and then we'll just start. I'm excited you're here.
Thank you, sir. I'm
Are
excited
you
to be here too.
get a hold
Thank
of
you for
anybody else?
asking.
Bring them on if you can.
All right, I'll send a couple. I'll ask these two guys if they want, if they're busy.
This is going to be mind blowing, endless. From just 19 pages of a textbook. 19 pages. You could probably talk for 19 hours on this stuff. Are you seeing this?
Yep.
All right. This is a high school biology textbook. This is going to be the first textbook review that I do out of a series of 15, and it's a part of the entire science curriculum of Rogers County, which applies to probably 10 or 15 schools just in my local community. So it's full of lies, and they haven't updated this stuff. I've talked to the uh, executive director of student learning. When you go to the playlist on this, exposing lies in modern science curriculum, go to my playlist, and you'll be able to find uh, the emails and stuff that I exchanged with the executive director of student learning. I've presented the lies. They don't care. They're not going to present it to their board. They're all full of crap. They all just care about the money. So the stuff that is being presented in the textbooks is going to continue to be shoved down the throats and to rape the eyes of little children and destroy their faith. Because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if you teach a child that they came from a little slime and then slowly evolved into a man, you know, that's going to destroy some of their faith in the Bible, especially when the Bible says 10 times in the first chapter that the animals are going to bring forth after their kind, and this biology textbook is just nullifying that completely by saying that we all came from a little sponge that lived 3.5 billion years ago. So, Iger, are you ready? Are you still there?
Yes, sir. Sorry again. I muted myself this time.
Oh, you're good. So the Big Bang Theory. What do you think about the Big Bang Theory, Iger? Do you
It
think that
was
it could be it's logical, at least, to
no.
believe such a thing?
Well, to be fair, I believed in it over 35 years of my life. It was until I realized that to start questioning all these things that I began to understand that it's a setup of lies by basically by secret societies. The Big Bang was made by the Jesuit priest George Lama Atre. It's not it's not anything occult. You could just look it up. Who came up with the Big Bang? And so it's yeah, it's a lie, bro. It's a lie in order to destroy God.
Now you said it took you to a minute to like understand that it was a lie. Now, does that mean that you were basically not even looking into it for a long time, and then when you did look into it, it blew your mind? Or does this mean that you were like researching it and it took you 2 years of research to come to the conclusion that it was wrong?
No, once I started to see, it's kind of like the you ever heard that term when the scales start falling out of your eyes?
Yeah.
We're lied to so much, we're blinded by all these scales. So, but once it's almost like a deck of like a house of cards, where once one of the scales comes off, then you start to see a bunch of different lies. So evolution's a lie, the Big Bang's a lie. The spinning ball even for me is a lie. So it's just a set of lies that are there to destroy the Bible without burning it.
Yeah, that's right. Now, you mentioned scales falling from your eyes. There may be people on here that don't know what you're actually talking about. It's found in Acts chapter 9, verse 18. Immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales, and he received sight forthwith and arose and was baptized. It's Paul the Apostle and his conversion. Uh, on the day that he was saved, this happened to him because Barnabas, I believe, showed up, had a message from the Lord that he was supposed to tell Saul that he needed to basically work for Jesus now. But it had been 3 days since Paul had been blinded by actually seeing the physical Jesus Christ appear. So after 3 days, Barnabas shows up with a message directly from God to go to Paul and to restore his sight. And when that happened, scales fell from his eyes. Paul seen the truth, and a lot of people would end up seeing the truth if they would just tune in to Iger Television and Christopher Silvius right here, because we're about to show you some crazy stuff that's being taught to little children the world over, specifically to get them to doubt the God of the Bible and to go to hell. Okay? So if you can think of something worse than sending a little child to hell, I'd like to I'd like to know what that is, but I can't think of anything. The Big Bang Theory. This is one of the ways. I'm not sharing screen, so let's do that real quick. The Big Bang Theory. It's actually a big dud because it didn't happen, as Hovind would say.
I like that. The big dud theory.
Yeah. Gotta share the screen and it's taking forever. Here we go. Now, this just drives me nuts. But look at what it says. Table 1.4 Examples of scientific theories. That's totally bogus because science is what we can know by testing, observation, and demonstration. And what they say about the Big Bang Theory has nothing to do with science. It says it literally says here, even though atheists will say that it wasn't an explosion at all, it says right here in a high school textbook, 2019 or 2020 edition. The universe originated with an explosion, continues to expand. So there you have it. That's even what National Geographic and the Discovery Channel are saying. But you talk to an atheist and describe the Big Bang Theory to them, saying how it was an explosion from a dot smaller than a period on a page, expanding into the total, you know, extension of the whole observable universe that we see today, they'll say that it wasn't an explosion, it was just an expansion. So they want to put different vocabulary on it to make it sound less stupid than it actually is. But here's a textbook right here just coming out with it, you know? It's an explosion, you know, and by definition, a rapid expansion is an explosion, FYI. So all the atheists that are trying to pretend
Hilarious.
like they don't know what we're talking about, you're just full of shit, okay? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore. Your theory is garbage, and it needs to be thrown in the trash can because it is a fairy tale, and there's no evidence for it. So, what do you think, Iger? Do you think that the universe began with an explosion?
I used to believe that it came from a nothing explosion, the size of a period, 14 point, what is it, 13.8 billion years ago or something like that. I forget, they change the numbers all the time, but yeah, I used to believe that too. But now, man, I take the literal viewpoint of the Bible, where basically everything was made by God in 6 days. The earth was here on day two, the trees on day three, the sun, moon, and stars weren't here until day four. So it's a complete reverse order to the from the Big Bang evolution narrative to the first page of the Bible creation narrative.
Well, let's think outside of the box here, okay? Because we're narrow minded creationists, Iger. We need to think, right? That's what they say. Let's think.
All right.
Is there evidence for something? I mean, anything. 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 A finger? A little speck of dust? Anything bigger than a subatomic particle coming into the observable sight of a human eye from nothing?
Well, funny you say that because every time I drive to work, I'm always so scared that nothing might explode in the highway. I'm just kidding, bro. Never has there been a nothing explosion in the physical observable world. But yeah, they expect us to believe that it happened 14 billion years ago, and they brainwash it into our brains since we're in kindergarten. So
I mean, that is a
pound it
scary
into our head.
thought. What if I told you that a piano exploded and nothing caused it? You know, it's just driving down the road and there was a piano in the middle of the road and I almost hit it until it exploded for no reason. And I was good. Just kept driving. That's crazy, you know?
Yeah, bro, it's silly.
But I can't even think of one example in a scientific laboratory anywhere where they ever produced something from nothing. There
Never.
is little subatomic particles that come in and out of existence. But
I'm starting to
look,
doubt those, bro.
even if you can, which it's a fact. I mean, it it happens. But we're talking about. Let me give you an example. There was a horse that recently won the Kentucky Derby. Okay, and it was from Oklahoma. So go Oklahoma. But that Kentucky Derby horse can only go so fast. I mean, there's been billions of dollars that have been spent on breeding faster horses for the Kentucky Derby, but you know that what they'll never be able to do is breed wings on the Kentucky Derby horse so that it can fly around the track and win it in 10 seconds. So if you're going to tell me you can get a little subatomic particle to come into existence from nothing, but you want me to believe that all of the universe did the same thing, well, you're going to have to give me some stronger evidence than a little speck of matter that I can't even see that's smaller than an atom. You need something better than that. Okay, if you want me to believe a cow can jump over the moon, well, you're gonna have to give me a better demonstration than a little skip. Okay, it's gonna have to jump a lot higher if you want me to believe. You know, it's a far fetched imagination. Like Iger, what's wrong with these people?
I don't know, man. Did you ever believe in the Big Bang, or were you always hip to the lie of it?
No, I've never believed in the Big Bang Theory. But what
No.
happened was I grew up being taught the Big Bang Theory, not liking it, but really having no argument that I could use to refute it. I mean, it was just basically my hands are tied. God is telling me to believe what He said, and the science teacher, or at least the science textbook, is telling me something else. Because most public school teachers, even though they have a science textbook that teaches evolution, they won't teach it because they're Christian themselves. That's most Americans, okay? A lot of people are Christians, but that's beside the point. What I saw in the world was that, the powerful and the intelligent, what they seem to believe is not what the Bible says. Because that's what I saw in my science textbook. So I'm just gonna, I mean, if you're in first grade or second grade or even in high school, you really don't know a lot about the world. So you're just assuming that, what they're teaching you in the science book is correct. If there's thousands of scientists out there from all over the world that all agree with this theory, well, then it must be true. And then, you know, you see the other side, and you can there's one of two choices. Once you're introduced to creationism, is to keep believing the propaganda or to study it for yourself. And I think that the atheists are just continually swallowing the lies, and they want other people to swallow the same lie. Not because it's true, because they haven't even investigated it, in all honesty. Not with true diligence, they have not investigated it. Uh, I was going on a rabbit trail there. But the Big Bang Theory, we're trying to be open minded, Iger, so no evidence of not even a speck of dirt coming into existence from nothing. Let's talk about cosmic microwave background radiation, okay? It's supposed to be a glow that exists on the outskirts of the universe. And this is supposed to be the leftover heat that the Big Bang produced. So, with that, and with Hubble's law, the expansion of space, we know that it's expanding. We know there's a lot of leftover heat on the very outside of it. Well, then it must have began from a single point. But is that describing an action of nothing? Is nothing causing this gigantic explosion? Because again, it doesn't happen today. Or is that describing the nature of creation event of the cosmos? Because that seems more logical that something would create it, seeing as how it doesn't happen today. Right? Like, if there's leftover heat, and if we know that the universe is expanding, well, we know it had a beginning. We know it had to come from a single point. You know, we're not necessarily denying that there was an explosion. We're denying that the explosion came from absolutely nothing because that is stupid to believe that that would happen. That's what the Big Bang Theory teaches. If the Big Bang Theory would include God, maybe it would be called by some other name. But the Big Bang Theory specifically teaches that this rapid expansion happened or it was caused from nothing. The first law of thermodynamics says that matter cannot be created or destroyed. So this theory is not scientific right from the beginning. And you don't have to go into the CMB or Hubble's law or the fact that we've never produced a single speck of matter from nothing. You could just look at the first law of thermodynamics and it would tell you that these guys that have, more degrees to their name than a thermometer know absolutely nothing about science. Because if they did, they would know that the Big Bang Theory is not true and it would never have stood a chance of being published. What do you think about that, Iger? Agree or
Yeah,
disagree?
man. I honestly even feel bad for these people sometimes because, especially when you look at the case of like an astrophysicist or something like that, where they went to school and spent 50, 60,000 dollars to be indoctrinated to believe in such a lie.
Well, sad, man. Satan's game here. Doesn't have anything to do with science. Has to do with them being uh, biased toward the God of the Bible. They don't like him. They don't like him telling them what to do. And that's the bottom line every time. I don't like God telling me what to do sometimes, but that doesn't mean that I go invent a theory to deny his existence and then go teach it to children in a public school. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm a saved individual, and I don't always do what God says because I don't like to do what he says. I'm a sinner, and he punishes me. Okay, but I'll just deny his existence. That's illogical. It's like the clay saying to the potter, "Why hast thou made me thus?" That's what the atheist does. He doesn't realize how foolish that he's being.
I'm gonna
Hopefully,
switch devices real quick. I gotta restart my laptop, so you'll notice me in the background on a
yeah, I
different
got you.
device.
I already got you on here. Boom. And then this one is going away.
How's my audio?
It sounds like I'm listening to Friday the 13th. You know what I'm talking about?
How about now?
And he's coming at you with a knife. You're
Wah,
running
wah,
like
wah.
50 miles an hour, and yet he's like half mile down the road. That doesn't make any sense. Iger, or not Iger, Jason Voorhees, dude. He's fast. But if you play the game, it'll let you in on a little secret. He can actually teleport. So
Well, I'm back now. I think.
that's how Jason gets around. Did you know that, Iger? You play the Friday the 13th game?
No.
Well, you should, because it's amazing. Anyways, back to the. This was brought to you part by PlayStation 4. Okay, here we go. I don't know where Iger went. Iger, where'd you go?
I'm back.
Let's get
Think
him
I'm
back
back for
before
good this time.
we continue.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Iger, you there?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, good.
Thought you left me. I don't know what I was gonna do.
You play a good video, bro. I like that video on my splash page. It's Ken Hobbin, like little summaries of Ken Hobbin basically going over the Big Bang, evolution, All the lies on the
Yeah.
textbooks, and it's only like 13 minutes long. 13. 13. Well, yeah, I'm
So we
restarting
can
my laptop, bro. It froze on me.
play that now or
And
what?
this on the. If you want to, man, cause I'd rather be on my laptop. This thing is like I hear echo.
Wait, what is it? You want to be on your laptop?
Yeah, I'm restarting my laptop. I should
Oh,
here shortly.
yeah, I can go through this while thing up, so don't
Oh,
worry about that.
okay. I'll just mute myself.
Yeah, like if you're having problems on your end, I'll just go through some of the stuff and then you back and let me know whenever you're good.
I'll be back in
And
like
then we'll
five
get your
minutes.
opinion on this. There's a Peter Lee Yun says yo, and I say yo back. Join the stream, please. There's a link in the description at the beginning. That's fine. I hope you enjoy what we're talking about. Uh, go share this with somebody who believes in evolution theory because they need to be silenced. Okay, their mouths must be stopped, as the Bible says. So let's continue. Big Bang Theory is trash. Cell theory. Now this is correct. All organisms consist of one or more cells. The cell is the basic unit of life, and all cells arise from existing cells. I can't even believe they would put that in the textbook because it's so devastating to their own theory of evolution. If cell theory, which everybody agrees, cells can only come from living cells, well, why in the world are they still teaching the theory of biogenesis? Saying that life can come from non life, even though nobody's ever seen it, and cell theory, the law of biogenesis, saying that life can only come from life. These are very basic and fundamental principles of biology. This is a biology textbook, and it's stating this as cell theory. Okay, this is modern. This is current and up to date research on how cells are formed. They're formed from pre existing cells. And more specifically, the cell that comes from a bacteria, when it reproduces, will always be the cell of a bacteria. Because a bacteria, regardless of how small it is or how fast it can reproduce, I don't care how many times you repeat the experiment. You could just do it over and over for 100 years, and they've been doing it for many, many years with single-celled bacteria, and they're just producing bacteria, and they've never gotten anything else. So life does not, in fact, come from non-life. Doesn't happen. The Miller-Urey experiment was two amino acids that was produced from some vascs, and some tubes and stuff in a laboratory by a guy Miller and another guy Urey. They were trying to get the ingredients for life from non-living matter. So basically what they did, they got two or more up-to-date research on the Miller-Urey experiment would show that they were able to engender at least 15 to 20 amino acids, but they're non-living. Okay, so we're talking about the ingredients to make cookies, but you don't have them in the right order. You don't have the temperature right, or none of that. They were just able to get the ingredients for some cookies, basically. So they naturally produce the ingredients, just like at Yellowstone National Park. You can go to the certain areas there where there are hydrothermal vents and all kinds of stuff, creating little pools of organic, non living compounds that just kind of sit there on the surface of the water, and they're really colorful. and they're next to little pools of like mold and stuff that's growing around it. But that mold, it's already alive. It's already living. The stuff that's in the water is non-living, and it's made of non-living organic compounds. So it's the ingredients for life, but it's not life. Okay, so they didn't even come close to producing life in the laboratory. They haven't even scratched the surface of that even today in 2022, despite the advances of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Not even close. All that they did was produced some non-living organic compounds. Okay, so hydrothermal vents on the bottom of the ocean floor. There are organisms that thrive deep within the ocean floor today that actually eat those same non-living organic compounds that are coming up from under the crust of the earth on the ocean floor. So hot water coming up from under the earth, and then animals are eating it. It's the ingredients for life, but it is not life. You see, the animal that is eating the ingredients, that carbon or whatever that's coming up, it's alive. Okay, it has cells that is alive. But what they're eating, even though if you put it in the right order, it could build a fish, it is not a fish. It is the farthest thing from it. It's just like if you put a frog in a blender. Okay, you have all the ingredients for a frog nog, if you will. You could drink that up. But despite whatever you do to it, you can zap it, nuke it, put it in a microwave, you know, it doesn't matter. You're never going to be able to assemble the frog nog back into a frog. End of discussion. Thank you. Evolution, it says, is change that occurs in the inherited traits of a population over generations. Meaning, now that's a simple description of evolution. It is true. Change happens. Organisms inherit traits from their parents. Okay, that's the Mendel's law. Okay, any offspring must inherit the genetic information of its parent, and it's identical. So if this is a genetic law, well, then there's no reason why it should just keep evolving and never stop. It's going to stop. There's going to be a limit. Okay, a cockroach can become resistant to a pesticide, but will never become resistant to a sledgehammer. There are simply limits to these changes and these different advances. If you get a bacteria in your body that becomes resistant to an antibiotic, that does not mean that the bacteria is going to eventually become so badass that it's no longer a bacteria anymore. It's still going to be a bacteria. So inherited traits of a population over generations does nothing for the theory of evolution, because things are always still going to stay the same. And even if they diversify to the point where it's pretty hard to tell, if it's a dog anymore, for instance, like a chihuahua, it's still a dog. And everybody with two eyes, or even one eye and half a brain, would be able to see that. Global warming. I don't even want to talk about that. That will just aggravate me even more than evolution theory, probably, to talk about how global warming is somehow causing the Earth's average temperature to increase. Okay. Yeah, in a lot of places, and sure, temperatures have increased since burning fossil fuels and stuff, but it's not to the point where it would be detrimental or somehow, you know, speeding up the process of what nature already does to produce global warming effects. Moving on. Plate tectonics. Well, before we go into anything else, I think we might want to check on Iger to see what in the world he's doing. I haven't heard nothing. So, let me get back here. Stop screen. Iger back into the equation.
Hello, I'm back.
Let's see. Iger.
Yes, sir.
Everything good?
I'm good now, bro. Everything's reset. But yeah, the whole climate change thing is It's another one of their lies, bro.
Yeah, I just can't buy into it, because all of the damn trees that actually absorb carbon dioxide. I mean, what the hell are we having a problem with if it's not carbon dioxide? That's what trees absorb. Like, just plant them along all the highways and you'll be fine. Are you guys that stupid? I don't understand.
They're gonna use this for more control too. It's gonna be like more control for for the little people like us, and these corporations are the ones causing the most damage. They're the ones that are spraying a lot of stuff. Chemtrails, geoengineering, they call it now. Cloud seeding, we're spraying who knows what up there.
Yeah, I just, uh, I don't know what that's all about. What their whole deal is with that. I think that I don't know. Like I said, I don't even want to get into global warming. It hurts my head to think about it.
Or
Maybe because I don't understand it, but what I do understand is that trees absorb carbon dioxide, and there's a lot of fucking trees out there. So, problem solved. Grow a brain, you political assholes. I don't like you, and you need to get a job picking peaches, changing tires, or delivering pizzas because you have no business in there teaching a first grader. I'm gonna stop right there. Let me get this
let's
part
go
over.
on with your presentation. What's next on the presentation?
Idiots. The next one is plate tectonics. So, let's see. It says plate tectonics is the Earth crust is cracked into pieces that move in relation to one another. Pretty simple. Everybody agrees that happens, right? Uh, there's nothing more said on this page about plate tectonics, so we'll agree plate tectonics happens. It doesn't happen over millions of years, but yes, the Earth is cracked into plates and they do move about the rate of a fingernail grows. It's very slow. Uh, Anyways, about the word theory. This is the textbook, okay? It says, suppose a hypothesis stands, even after years of tests. It is consistent with all data ever gathered, and it has helped us make successful predictions about other phenomena. When a hypothesis meets these criteria, it is considered to be a scientific theory. What a load of garbage, because they don't even apply that to their own theories. That standard is not used for their own theories. We've already talked about one of them, which is the Big Bang Theory. No evidence for it whatsoever. It's never stood the test of time. Why is it a theory? Can you explain that, Iger? Why the Big Bang is a theory when a theory, according to this definition, has to stand after years of tests?
I don't know, bro. You talk to these people, and they're like, a scientific theory is pretty much a fact. Like, when did this happen? When did a theory become a fact? And they'll just keep on going like that, and it doesn't make any sense to me. They just change the definition to, a guess. Basically, your best guess to a scientific theory is not a absolute fact that can predict everything, but it's just because they're so indoctrinated into their paradigm of believing in the Big Bang and evolution.
It's the epitome of brainwashing.
The epitome of brainwashing.
Because you give them the correct definition, but then in the next sentence, you kind of just display the opposite. And it's like you pull the wool over their eyes. Like, it's like when you go to your best friend. If you were a wicked person, let's just be hypothetical here. I'm not saying anybody would ever do this. Let's say, Iger, do you have a wife?
No.
No. If you did, let's say I I said, your wife is great. She's beautiful. You know, she's very faithful. And I love that. You're a great guy. And then in the next hour, I'm in the back room with her, you know, making it happen up in the spot. That doesn't that doesn't mean that I'm telling the truth to you, when I told you that she was great and all this stuff. That was just a lie. See, that's what this is right here. After years of tests, it's consistent with all data ever gathered, I'm your friend. We just want to teach the truth. We just want to teach what science is. Well, they're lying. This is true what they're saying here, but they want to put that theory word in front of Big Bang when the Big Bang never happened. So I don't know why they're trying to put theory in it. It's not a theory. Not a theory. This is what they do, okay? They mix science with religion. So we all know the difference between something that is religious and something is science. So what they want to do is say that their religion is science. That way they can say that it's the same thing. It's something that we can know and test, but it's not. It's things that are, they're trying to make two things related that actually have nothing to do with each other, like smoking Marlboro cigarettes all day long. You'll never be a cowboy, though. You may smell like a horse, but you're not a cowboy. You're not herding cattle all day. You're not a cowboy just because you smoke Marlboros. And just because you go around teaching the Big Bang Theory does not mean that you know anything at all about science. And I don't care how many PhDs that you have. If you think a dot exploded and produced the whole universe, you're out of your mind. And, yeah. So you have the textbooks and you have all your friends and all your colleagues right now. But how's that going to work out for you on Judgment Day? You know, talking about the Big Bang Theory, Iger, the word universe is a combination of two Latin words meaning uni and verse, right?
Yeah, single single spoken sentence.
Isn't that interesting that the scientist lives in a universe? The scientist lives in a single spoken sentence. Damn, that must bug him before he goes to sleep at night. I would think something like that is totally eating at his soul. It would be me. I don't know how they live with themselves doing what they do. But
I'm
here's the
with you,
next
bro.
page. Number 5. A scientific theory also differs from a law of nature, which describes a phenomenon that has been observed to occur in every circumstance without fail. I mean, are you freaking kidding me right now? Every circumstance without fail. I bet I can think of a theory that doesn't fail. Cell theory. Cells come from cells. Life comes from life. When has that ever been disproven? And why are they still teaching that life comes from non life? If that's what a theory means, I don't understand why the Big Bang Theory, and evolution theory is in this textbook, because those do not fall under the category of theory. They've not stood the test of time. In fact, the opposite is true. The opposite.
Man, I didn't realize all these were theories. Like the plate tectonics at the bottom, global warming. You said this is a textbook for like the ninth grade or something like that?
It's a high school textbook.
Wow. Global warming.
Yeah, it's all
What's
there.
that? What's on top of global warming? Oh, evolution. The
Evolution, yeah.
cell theory, Big Bang, and
They get
atomic
into more
theory.
detail sort of later on, but yeah, theory, they're trying to combine things that do not go good together. One more example: beer and football, not related. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Science, evolution, the two are unrelated. Don't try to put them together or you become a moron. Simple as that. Cell theory, again, all cells come from the division of pre existing cells. That means life can only come from life. It's never been disproven. It's been standing the test of time for over 200 years now since, you know, that Louis Pasteur guy and the other one, I can't remember his name. They got together and figured it out pretty damn quick that it couldn't happen, okay, and it's never happened. So I'm just wondering why it's evolution is considered a theory. Just I'm pretty sure they're lying in these textbooks. It's it's not a mistake. It's not a misrepresentation. It's a lie. It's a lie. Next page. Oh yeah, that's again. It kind of summarizes law of nature, scientific theory. They're a little different, but kind of the same thing. Law of nature is a generalization that describes a consistent natural phenomenon for which there is incomplete scientific explanation. So basically, if the scientists they get together and they this is happening all the time. There's no exception to it, and even if there is an exception, this is generally what happens. So we're gonna stop all funding research for gravity, for instance, and just assume it works, and this is what it does. A law, gravity, it's a law, or whatever else you want to consider a law. If if it always happens and nothing else is ever happening different, they consider it a law. Scientific theory is kind of the same thing, except there's exceptions to it. You know, it's still generally true, but because there's exceptions to the general rule, it kind of becomes a theory because you can't say that it happens in one place all the time. You can just say that it happens in most places most of the time. So there's that. Now let's try to move on. Unless you want to respond to anything, Iger.
Well, I don't want to get into a gravity debate with you, but let's carry on.
Yeah, I know you don't believe in gravity. I already know about you.
And but then they could call that a law, huh? But yet, density, magnetism, these forces will overcome gravity any day of the week. You got a helium balloon goes up, so even man, even the laws can be messed up at some point. After so many people accept the theories as facts, then they can just move on and start making them laws. All right, go ahead, move on, bro.
I guess they could just like do anything that they want. I mean, if you have enough money and power, shoot, you could open up a casino or a strip club in the Bible Belt as long as you have some political connections. I imagine.
You live in the Bible Belt?
Probably. I live in Oklahoma.
Yeah. All right, good.
There's a lot of churches. I think it's not Oklahoma, but I'm pretty sure it's Silent Springs or something like that. It's not too far from here. It's like got the most churches of any town anywhere. It's like just packed with churches. But around here, Oklahoma, the surrounding states, they're pretty. I don't know. I wouldn't call them Bible thumpers. I'd just say it's a bunch of people that go to church. They don't ever read their Bible. They're just there. That's another topic.
All right, cool. Just wondering.
Yeah, Bible. You don't live in a Bible belt. Do you have a lot of
No,
churches in Oregon,
and I'm in
Orlando,
Florida. Yeah, I'm in
Orlando? Yeah.
Florida, bro. Yeah. So it's like we have a lot of churches, but we have a lot of I guess, liberals here in this city, anyways. Now, not all parts of Florida are like that. There's a lot of small towns in Florida, but where I live, it's like pretty liberal, bro. We got Disney right around the corner. We got Universal, so it's very. We got Kennedy Space Center down the street, so it's a very progressive town where I'm at,
Man,
Central Florida.
maybe you should get out of there. I'm kind of starting to see why you're a flat earther now. I'm just kidding.
No, but that's why it took me so long to break down my programming, bro. Like, you go to Disney, they got Tomorrowland, which is Thunder, Space Mountain, and all this future stuff. So it's like a lot of brainwashing goes on with Disney and Universal. They indoctrinate us into believing into these things, the evolution, Big Bang. But yeah, I do want to get out of here, bro. I'm trying to come up north. I'm trying to make my way up to the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, little by little. I'm not. So I got roots here. I got like family, so I don't want to leave them behind, and they're not quite ready. They're not where I'm at. They're not young earthers. They're not geocentricists. They're just normal people, but they're starting to see. I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up to with these mandates and stuff. People are waking up to something's not right. They don't know about the New World Order yet. They don't know about globalism. They don't know what that means, but we try to break it down to them, and people are starting to be more receptive.
So, are you native or something, Iger? You seem like you have an accent.
Well, I'm from. I was originally born in Central America, but I came to Florida in 1990, so I have a little bit of an accent that comes out sometimes.
Oh, nice. Central America. In Pangea theory, in relation to plate tectonics, I guess,
Yeah,
they have to
doesn't
remove
exist.
Central America to get them to fit together.
Yeah, I
So, you
know,
don't
bro.
even exist.
Nice.
How are you
It's
here?
yeah, I'm just an insignificant speck of dust. I'm stardust that came from a nothing explosion in a nothing universe with infinite possibilities, which is all a lie. Obviously, this place is very special. Earth, even the mainstream scientists will tell you they haven't found any life on Earth. I mean, on other planets. So, so yeah, it's a very special place. No matter where you put it, I put it in an even more special place because in my worldview, with geocentrism, flat Earth, this is the only actual solid land. Everything else is just like lights up there, which eventually will go to heaven and will be like spiritual beings. You might have, you might have a place, I guess, even on top of the firmament where for flesh people to be in. But all right, I went too far down that rabbit hole, bro. Carry on with the presentation, sir.
Peter asks if Pangea is even real.
Well,
Not the Pangea that they're teaching. I don't think it's real, because like I just said, you have to remove Central America. You have to rotate North and South America. North America has to go clockwise. I think it is clockwise, and then South America has to go counterclockwise in order to get them to even fit together. Uh, all the continents have to be shrunk, by a pretty appreciable percentage. They have to be shrunk in order to make them fit.
yeah, I used to believe in Pangea, obviously, when I was a creationist. I mean, not creationist, evolutionist, Big Banger. But now I don't know what to make of Pangea. I would say that before the flood, the world was different, and there is a verse in the Bible we can look it up. It's in Genesis. It talks about in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. So it's around the Nimrod event. It's
Yeah.
possible that there was a second division. Obviously, in the flood, there would have been a lot of land division per se, with the dual flood and the fountains of the deep breaking open. And then after the flood, there's a little bit of room for some type of like a Pangea event where it talks about the Earth being divided. Is it talking about the actual Earth being divided? Because then it says that God divides all the people into different corners of the Earth, confounds the languages, or is it just talking about? I've heard another theory that it's not a Pangea event. It's talking about when Noah divided basically the land among his kids, his three sons. But to me, the like a Pangea like event during the days of Peleg kind of makes a little bit of sense because that would explain why there's kangaroos in Australia, even though there's also the explanation of the land bridges. Fascinating stuff, man. I wasn't there. It's hard to tell for me. I still got to
Yeah,
do more research.
I think it could be like a combination of all of them, honestly. But
Right. How can I prove that, right? Like, I do feel like there had to be a Pangea like event in the flood because the fountains of deep are bursting open. They're probably, messing up the whole whatever the earth used to look like before the flood. And then also the Tower of Babel is kind of interesting because it talks about God sending the people to different corners of the earth and compounding the languages. So it's kind of interesting.
yeah, I would say a supercontinent did exist. It's just not the same supercontinent that they would show in the textbook necessarily. But yeah, it all existed as one. It was split apart, and then split apart into seven major continental plates, and then within those seven major continents, there's little tiny plates all throughout of it. So fault lines and all kinds of stuff. I would say that Pangea definitely uh, existed. Just it's not the same as they're saying. They're saying that it split over millions of years, when the truth is, it was only around 4,500 years ago that
I'm,
this
gonna,
supercontinent before the flood was split open. Go ahead, Iger.
I'm just going to look up the verses. It's Genesis 10:25. And I didn't know this, but I guess it's also mentioned in Chronicles 1:19.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna look them up real quick. Genesis, what did I say? 10:25. Genesis 10:25. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So that's Genesis 10:25. Let me see what Chronicles 1:19 say.
Well, his brother must have been a badass because nobody on that entire list gets their brother mentioned. I'm pretty sure they're jealous.
And yeah, and let's see again here it is on 1 Chronicles, First Chronicles 1:19. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So twice it's basically the same thing, word by word, almost word by word. But it's just saying, um, and it's weird too because I remember when you're reading Genesis, it's really just saying, this guy had a kid, and then this was his name, and this guy had a kid, and this was his name, and this guy had a kid, and this was his name, and then here it gives you like a little bit of because in his days the earth was divided. So it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a combination of all three of them. But I'm saying probably 500 to 1,000 years after the flood, there was like a melting of the ice caps, which caused sea levels to rise, and that would cover up a lot of the land bridges connecting multiple continents. That's the basic gist of it.
I think the whole thing with that is they want you to think it happened millions and millions and millions of years ago, and I don't think it would have been one supercontinent, but maybe not the way they have it all together, where it's like basically all one landmass scrunched up into like a Australia looking thing, but it could have been just a different layout. I don't know, bro. There's a flat Earth theory where they say that the moon, the face of the moon, represents the basically the Earth at creation. It's what it looked like. It's kind of interesting, but there's not a lot of information on it. I just heard about it. I think I could pull up a picture real quick. Carry on with the presentation, bro. Or wait, try.
Yeah, if you're gonna pull up a picture, oh wait,
Let
so
me
I
see
can
if
share
it
the
comes up
screen.
on.
I'm not worried about how successful any of this streaming goes. They're really just gonna strike this down, Iger, eventually. So I don't care. And
They
what
didn't
we're
really
talking
say
about is
anything
mind
too
blowing
bad.
enough. We don't even have to try. All you have to do is have traffic come through, and then that does all of the work. They're just really good at stopping the flow of their algorithm because they own it.
Oh, here, let me share my screen real quick. This is like crazy, even for flat earthers, bro. Like I mentioned this to other flat earthers, and they thought I was insane. But I'm like, I just think it's interesting because nobody knows at all. But I think it's pretty interesting. But yeah, this is the face of the moon, basically.
Oh, yep, I got you. Let me share that.
This is
Boom.
not a this is not a real good picture, but basically, let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, here it goes. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Just a little more. But so this is a picture of the face of the moon, and then here you got now they did inverse this because I don't know if you ever looked at your phone and you raise your right hand and it looks like you're raising your left hand. So this is like inverted in some type of way. But anyways, here goes North America, Central America, South America. What is this? Oh, this would be I think it's called Lemuria. Like one of the lost continents, like Atlantis. So they're saying
Yeah.
this is Lemuria, and then here you got like Russia and Europe. I think it's kind of hard to read this. Australia's over here. There's India, and this is just like one section of the Earth. So I don't know. I think this could have been if it is a picture of the Earth. I don't think it's like a live current picture. It would be a picture of the Earth at creation for me. That's what I would think because there's a lot of continents that are just they don't exist. But anyways, all right, stop sharing. And then I just find this fascinating, I should say. But I don't know if it's true or not, obviously. But I just think it's interesting.
Well, just the only problem is that these people only think in terms of millions of years, and I can't think of anything more unscientific than to just brush all your problems off with millions of years, you know? It's like, well, it happened so long ago, who really knows? Here's our theories, and everybody respects them, so it must be true.
I'm with you, bro. That's like the biggest lie they're trying to push. So make you feel like you came from a monkey. And imagine if we all agreed that the Earth was about 6,000 to 10,000 years old, and then how do you make sense of evolution if the whole world was in consensus that the Earth is about 6 to 10,000 years old? It wouldn't make any sense. There would be no such thing as a evolution theory. So they have to make you believe in this old 4 billion-year-old Earth. So you got all this room of stuff. Nobody's ever seen to try to explain, make sense of the evolution theory, which is laughable, even with billions of years. But it would be even like it wouldn't even be a theory if the Earth was only 10,000 years old and everybody agreed upon that.
Yeah, they need time to make the theory work. The problem with that is you have to like get into the heat problem, and that's like a whole technical discussion, and that's how they win. Is they get all these respected scientists and stuff together, and it's a big shell game. The nut's not in any of the cups, if you know what shell game is. It's they're just saying, the biologist is like, well, yeah, there's evidence, but I don't necessarily have it. I have good evidence myself, but the real evidence is over here with the geologist. And then you go to the geologist and you dig up some layer of strata, you break off the piece, you send it to the lab, and what do you get from them? Well, where did it come from? We need to know, you know, uh, where you found it, basically. Now, why would you know why would you need to know that? Why is it so hard and so expensive to even go through this process? And then, thirdly, most of the geologic column doesn't even exist in reality. There's very small portions of it that actually exist. So if you go basically anywhere in the world, like in Oklahoma, for instance, you have everything from the Precambrian up to the Permian, okay, which is the insects and the amphibians, and then it stops there. You can go up to the Panhandle and find evidence of dinosaurs, okay, but the entire top half of the column containing all of the mammals have been completely scoured from all of Oklahoma. So you can't even find a mammal fossil in Oklahoma because of all the erosion that's taken place. So if that much erosion has completely destroyed the entire geologic column, how can you trust radiometric dating?
It seems to me like the whole geologic column thing. It's like what? Okay, so you got the fish. It's kind of like how things would have been buried in the flood, anyways. You know what I mean? Like the fish obviously will be below sea level. They're gonna be the deepest. Then the clams will be on top of that, and then obviously the amphibians, because they're closer to the water, will be on top. Reptiles and other vertebrates will be on top. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, well, that's the things. That's the way things would have been buried in the flood, anyways.
Yeah, you can
You just want
look
to add
up
millions of
the
years to it.
the guy who came up with the layers of strata and identified them, what they were made of, and put a name on them. That actually was a guy like in the 1800s, and this was before evolution was even introduced. So, I
It
mean,
seems
they
like
were
it,
already looking at the Earth and seeing that the fossils. You can look up the father of paleontology, the father of geology, the father of genetics, the father. It's like all these fathers of modern science are creationists, huh? I wonder who made the predictions that gave us modern science. Like, they say that we don't make any predictions, but we, in fact, made most of the predictions that are available, right?
What is
Because
that called? The column, the where the fish are there, and the mate. What's that called? The
what the geologic column, they call it a
geologic
geologic
column.
time
Yeah,
scale.
geologic column. If it's around the 19, the evolution was made in like the 1850s. You got the word dinosaur. Have you ever heard this? The word dinosaur didn't exist till 1841. It was invented by Sir Richard Owen.
Yeah, Richard Owens.
Before that, all the big reptiles were called dragons, and they live with man. That's where we got all the mythology of dragons and stuff. So yeah, so I wonder when this guy came up with James Hutton. It's got to be. You said it's before evolution, so it's probably around the same time they came up with the word dinosaur. Oh
Yeah,
wait,
and the
no,
reason
it's
you got
earlier than
James
that.
Hutton and then Charles Lyell who came after them, and the reason that they were making these books, or coming up with these theories about how the Earth is millions of years old, and you can explain the present with the past millions of years ago, is because it was already being taught that everything in geology or whatever was explained by a creator and also a global flood. A creator gave us the life, gave us the world. A global flood gave us the world in its current condition. That's what was actually being taught before Darwin and Hutton and Lyell, any of those guys ever came along. The reason why they made so much money off of their books and stuff is because it was a huge controversy, and they were actually making a lot of copies and getting it published because of all the money that they had involved in it. So it had nothing to do with, the whole point is all the modern branches of scientific research, every field was established by a creationist, a young earth creationist who believed a global flood. That's a fact of scientific history.
You got anything left for the presentation, bro?
Yeah.
Let's go. Moving on. Uh, we'll circle back to this because Peter Lee Young is asking or stating, I should say, dinosaurs are behemoths, dragons are leviathans. Isn't that how it works? And man, there's so many questions that I have as to leviathan and behemoth, bro. I
Yeah.
have no
I mean, we can
answers.
address that really quick. Dinosaurs, behemoths. See, dinosaurs, like Iger just said, not invented until like 1500, so that's why the word dinosaur is not in the Bible. They use the
It's
term
1841.
dragon.
Yeah.
Behemoth is a direct reference to one of those dragons called a sauropod dinosaur, a long neck, long tail. The largest dinosaur bone ever recovered was from Oklahoma, and it belonged to one of those creatures. It was the entire leg bone. But Leviathan is, in fact, a fire breathing dragon, according to the Bible. I think a fire breathing dragon is another type of dinosaur. Happens to be the form that Satan took in the Garden of Eden to speak to Eve, is my personal belief about the physical appearance of Satan. It is that of Leviathan, a fire breathing dragon. In other words, a dinosaur. We do not see them today because they don't exist anymore. They've gone extinct sometime after the flood. That doesn't mean that they didn't get on the ark and get off the ark. It just means that, the same could be said for the polar bears pretty soon, or a mastodon, or a mammoth, or a saber-toothed tiger.
I
You
will add to that. I don't think all the dinosaurs that are presented to us on movies like Jurassic Park and what was that called with Littlefoot? the land before time. Like I don't think all these species even existed. I think there was some big lizards, but I don't think it was all the ones that are presented to us.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, who knows, Tiger. The T Rex with its little short arms could be a
Could be
total
a chicken,
fiction of forensics.
bro. It could have been a chicken, a big giant chicken. The way the way it's presented. I remember I saw a meme of like a velociraptor skeleton next to an ostrich skeleton, and it was like almost no difference. You know what I mean? It was like pretty much the same thing. I'm gonna try to pull that up real quick, but
You know,
it's hilarious.
what's funny is they tell us that we're ridiculous when we try to say that dinosaurs lived with man and that they got on an ark. But then they'll turn around and teach that the T Rex evolved into a chicken.
Devolved. Yeah, it's hilarious, bro.
So we're the ones
Hilarious.
with the problem, right?
Yeah, yeah. But no, I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna look for that meme. But go ahead, carry on the presentation. And there's also before we move on from behemoth, one of these animals was a clean animal, so I guess it was edible. So that's why I had so many questions. Then I don't think it could be like a reptile per se. I think it would have to be some type of mammal or maybe a bird or something. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pull up that Bible verse too. It's in Job, obviously, but I don't know what verse it's on. But carry on with the presentation so I can start digging up some dinosaur stuff that's in there.
Hold on, I think my daughter just had a bad dream. Just 1 second.
Oh, all right.
What is it? It's all right. Hey. What's wrong? What happened? You have a bad dream?
All right. I guess if you wanna, I'll
We're
sing her a
good.
lullaby.
Yeah, we're all right.
Oh, my favorite song is "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star."
Oh yeah,
How
you
I
sure?
wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are.
Yeah, see, it's all better. It's all right.
Yeah, that's my favorite lullaby or kid song. You like that one? Twinkle,
Yeah, I think this
twinkle,
is
little
cool now.
star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And not to be funny, because, man, I think the stars are angels now, cherubim or something like that.
Yep. I think that calmed her right down, Iger.
Yeah,
That was
I
an
have a,
amazing special we just had.
I have a kid, a baby too, bro. I have an old kid and a baby.
Oh, so we were talking about the dinosaurs. This is the next page, the KT boundary. So this was created by a huge cloud of ash, volcanic ash, fell down to the earth, was deposited into a layer globally. Now, below this layer of ash contains iridium. You will find no dinosaur fossils, and above it, or below it, you will find dinosaur fossils. Above it, you will not find any. So, with the radiometric dates that they give to this specific layer of strata, 65 million years, they have concluded that after 65 million years ago, no dinosaurs have existed. So they went extinct sometime around 65 million years ago. Before that layer of ash was deposited, or it's probably the cause of their extinction. That's what they're teaching in the textbooks. So, Iger, can you possibly think of another way that you could have a huge layer of iridium.
I would imagine the flood probably took care of that, bro.
So yeah, there's two ways to look at everything. I mean, a huge volcano going off,
So
spraying a
yeah,
bunch of ash that falls back down to the earth. Could that not also happen in a global flood?
for sure, my friend.
I think a lot of uh, any of the theories that are available for the flood uh, put a heavy emphasis on the volcanic activity going on and the plate tectonics, the spreading apart of the crust of the earth to form the modern mountains. Huge impact craters. Uh, One way to explain this, this is out of the box. Okay, this is why you're a scientist if you claim to be one, is to think outside of Pandora's box. Okay, you don't want to just assume everything you're told is true. You want to question everything. That's what science is about. That's why it exists. That's why it's popular. Because you don't have to listen to what you're told. You can just go out and investigate it yourself to see if it's true or not. So maybe, let's just think, maybe if the whole world was flooded, like the Bible says, the Word of God, and water is coming up violently from under the crust of the earth, if you consider the hydroplate theory, over the course of around 40 days and 40 nights, 300 trillion hydrogen bombs, the equivalent to that energy, was released. And so this is launching huge amounts of water, dirt, and rock into the atmosphere. That's going to fall back down to the earth, and that's going to produce a lot of volcanic activity. A lot of it is going to fall back down as super cold ice that will fall on the north and south poles. But huge chunks of rock are going to fall back down to the earth and blast the earth. That's going to be full of craters. You can look to the near side of the moon, which we see, and it's full of craters. Probably because those craters came from the earth. The rings around Saturn probably came from material that was launched from the earth. In fact, if you study the composition of comets, it has the same level of, or not the same level, but a higher level of deuterium than the oceans have. That's probably another whole topic. I probably shouldn't even have said anything about that. But the point is that you can find even biological material like on Mars. And if you're finding water on other planets, or life, for instance, why wouldn't you conclude that it comes from the only planet in the solar system with water and life? Why would you assume that it just got there millions of years ago? Instead of making the logical, most reasonable conclusion that, if there's only one planet in the entire solar system that contains a bunch of water and life, and you find little specks of it in the nearby planets, well, duh, it came from Earth. There's a reason why there's a lot more craters on the near side than the far side of the moon. It's because the craters were created from the Earth. That iridium layer was created by volcanic activity occurring from a global flood. Huge impacts from Earth being launched into the atmosphere and falling back down on itself. Okay. Iger, what did you want to show here? What is this?
Oh yeah, this is I don't have a better way to share this, but if you can look on the left, this
An ostrich?
on the right is the ostrich, on the left is a velociraptor. And then it's like you look at their bone structure besides the skull, and it's pretty much identical. You know, in a lot of cases, these people find like just
Oh
a
man.
femur or a leg bone, and then they invent a whole new animal. You know what I mean? To fit to sell the whole prehistoric millions of years of Jurassic period. But this is actually not that good of a meme. Let me see if I have a better one. I did a discussion with this other guy a couple months ago. Let's see. About anything really, but then he. Man, I was hoping there was another meme. It's big money. Then oh, here it is. This one's even better. Man, I wish I could zoom in. Will it let me? Nah, it's a YouTube video. Won't let me zoom in. But yeah, it's like besides the skull, these things are almost identical. So, all right, bro, that was it. That was all I wanted to share. I'm still looking for another verse that it talks about. I can't remember if it's Leviathan or Behemoth, how they're clean animals. So what?
It's definitely possible. I mean, with all the money and stuff that they have, I don't think it'd be very hard for them to convince us that a fossil of an ostrich is actually a raptor. I mean, there's definitely a lot of similarities there. There's a lot of similarities in a monkey fossil to a human, and they're saying that that ancient monkey is a human. So I don't know. You know what's funny though is you never find a chicken and a human together in the fossil record,
It's
and
because the humans ate the chickens.
I guess that's the best damn bird that God ever made. Because it doesn't matter where you go in the world, everybody eats it.
Hey, that's a good point, bro.
Yeah, I heard it from Cat Williams the other day.
Yeah. No wonder they didn't exist with humans because they all ate them.
Yeah,
or or they used to just be big. These chickens are like no joke. They really did evolve from like a big chicken, and then we just turned them into some type of dinosaur, T Rex or something. All right, let me stop screen sharing. That was it. I just couldn't find it any other way.
all right then. So this is a depiction of what is known as whale evolution. You start out with a rodent somewhere a long time ago, which eventually evolves into this land-dwelling mammal. Could be like some kind of a anteater or I don't know what it could be. Whatever this is, some kind of a giant dog, and then it slowly loses its legs. It becomes shorter and shorter until it becomes like adapted to aquatic environment. Starts like, ooh, I think I can swim. I think I want to swim. So why don't we try it? And then that happens and continues. And over long, slow, gradual processes, slowly a whale is formed.
Yeah. So basically, it was like a dog, and then it became some type of otter creature, and it became a manatee, and then the manatee became a whale. But we're never gonna see this happen in the real in real life. But we got some nice cartoons drawing little lines on paper, and bam, science.
Yeah. So think outside of the box here. Let's see. I'm a creationist, and I would say that there's no way that that's even possible. Let's consider. Okay. The radiometric date for the whale is around 37 million years old, and the date for the creature on top is well, the whale 47 million years, and the creature on top is around 30 million. So I'm gonna say 10 to 15 million years. You go from a land dwelling creature to a whale. Let's just say that it happened, but you have the top creature, it's going to be lower in the strata, and the whale will actually be in the upper strata. So that would mean that it's younger. But could it be that the reason that you don't find the whale in the same strata as the land dwelling rodent, okay, we'll call it, the reason that you wouldn't find them in the same layer of strata is because they don't live in the same area. Again, you don't find a chicken with a human. That doesn't mean one evolved into the other in no way, shape, or form. A freshman lawyer would be able to tear this apart very easily. If you try to bring this into the courtroom and say that the Elomerics is what they're calling it, evolved into the Arteriodactyl whale. That's some weird names that they're giving them. Um,
How
so
do
it
they
could,
get on top of mountains, bro? Like, have you heard that about them finding whale skeletons on top of like mountains?
yeah, you find a whale on a mountain
How
and
does that
conclude
happen?
that a flood didn't happen. I mean, what?
Yeah, how do you know how they explain that away? I forget. Like, how do they explain that
Oh,
away?
yeah. Well, they would say that the oceans were collecting the bones of the whales and fossilizing them, even though it never happens today. A whale is never fossilized, ever. Stands no chance of being fossilized. No creature does. Just microorganisms alone will eat away the bone within a single year. It'll be totally gone. You can do that with a chicken bone in your front lawn. Throw it out there and see if you see it again next year. After the summer and the winter has taken its course, show me a chicken bone after 1 year. You're full of it. And you're definitely not going to show me one after 20 years. Or, I mean, the point is, fossilization is a rare event. And if you have this rare event, and there's like a catastrophe, some kind of ancient mudslide 47 million years ago, covers the animal. Well, then millions of years go by, and the ocean floor slowly begins to rise through plate tectonics. And that's how we have a whale on the top of the mountain. The problem with that is that you have to involve deep time and millions of years in order to make this process happen. You need to be able to show how this could happen like now in a laboratory, since science is what we can test, observe, and demonstrate. Show me how that can happen today. Show me how you can a practical way to form a mountain, you know, without using millions of years and deep time. Very hard to do for the evolutionist, very easy for a creationist who would simply say that there was a global flood. That's the easiest way to explain it. Uh, but you have an animal that lives on the land that's lower in the strata than the animal, the whale. Okay, and that's going to be higher in the strata. But again, like you said, we find whales on mountains, and you don't get any higher than a mountain. So it's basically, uh, you know, there's not any higher. So you're not going to be able to find the animal that you see on top, when you go to a mountain that has a whale in it, the top layer of strata where this, or the lower layers of strata, I guess, no, they would still be there. Well, how was that mountain
Oh, we got
formed?
Jamie Russell in the chat, bro.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, click the link, Jamie Russell.
Jamie, I'm not sure who that is.
Jamie
50
Russell.
whales preserved in a small area.
Jamie Russell. You don't know Jamie Russell, bro? He's Seventh Day Adventist. He goes on a lot of the streams too.
Nice.
He also has a channel. He does live streams a lot. If you ever want to join his channel, Jamie Russell.
I'll definitely.
He's not a geocentrist, I don't think, but he is a young earther. So big shout out to my young earth brothers.
Yeah, shout out Jamie. Also, clams on Mount Everest in the closed position, which means they had to be buried rapidly. Now, oh, there we go, Jamie. He's in.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Jamie?
Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Yeah, the bones, the whales, man. Like, if you think about it too, erosion rates are like would take that stuff out a long time ago because, like, the mountains are uplifting, so they're being eroded every year, and so to have whales exist as fossils, well, like did the mountains not uplift for millions and millions of years and not erode too? That doesn't make any sense. The fact that the geologic column even exists with erosion rates that we measure today is impossible.
Yeah, that's really true. That's something. So then, with all the erosion and the contamination problem that exists in radiometric dating, I don't see how it can be trusted if all that erosion has taken place to erase all of that potassium and argon and uranium and move it somewhere else. That seems kind of far-fetched.
Think about it. If you take the lowest measurable rates of erosion that happen like in the least erosion areas, like on essentially stone that gets little rainfall and weathering is I think it's like a millimeter per 1,000 years would still erode at that rate, like 1 millimeter per 1,000 years. And when you multiply that by another 1,000 is just 1 million years. So that's 1,000 millimeters. So that's like many feet. What is that? That's like I want to say that's like.
Let me share my screen again real quick.
Like 1 million years would be like a couple feet at least. So you get times up by another 100. It's like it doesn't make sense, and that's clearly not what would happen in most places. And so, it makes no sense. There shouldn't be. They say the mountains, aren't higher because they erode as they rise. But to have any fossils on this near the surface of a mountain makes no sense. They don't even talk about it.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to say it's like Argentina, just offshore of Argentina. There's like a site that's fairly small, and has like 50 non-disarticulated whales fossilized, in most part. Like there's whole ones, no scavengers at all, picked at the bones. It's crazy. What buries a whale in a desert?
I'm just gonna skim through them all real quick. But yeah, it's ridiculous, bro. Same with the clams. They got the clams as big as like washing machines on top of the mountains.
I saw your channel because I think you subscribed to my channel actually. So I was like just checking out. I saw that your channel was subscribed to my channel. So and then I clicked on this channel and then it came up. So
wicked. Yeah, I don't know. It's the first time I'm hearing of Jamie Russell, but it's good to see you.
Where did I meet you at, Christopher Silvius? You remember? Was it on
probably
LPG's
SFT?
channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I've seen you. Yeah, that must be where I've seen you too before because I recognize the name.
Do you ever go on logical, plausible, probable streams? Because I think they usually have more open streams over there.
He hasn't streamed in like 4 weeks, like a month.
Yeah, he hasn't been on. He's probably working. I emailed him a week ago. I don't think he emailed back.
So he goes on vacations and then does live streams with this time off.
Yeah, I don't know. He just disappears for a while sometimes. I think he just runs out of stuff to do, talk about. He's probably working. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I think it's Bones and Stones by Walter Veith, like from Amazing Discoveries. He has a presentation where he talks about in fact, I think I might have streamed part of it the other day, actually, believe it or not. But yeah, just check it out sometime. It's interesting. He talks about a bunch of stuff like that. But he shows like a diagram of those whales, like how they recorded it. There's like 50 of them within like so many kilometers or whatever, just off the shore of like, I want to say the western shore of South America. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, that takes like, I think it's on, let's see. Yeah, there's some of my favorite presentations from Young Earth Creationist PhDs on my channel my favorite ones. But I mean, they're not my videos. I was just playing them. So yeah, that's a cool one. Some of them have the baleen teeth, or their filters in their mouth is totally intact as well, which is crazy.
Now I want to watch it, bro. What you say it was called? Can I look it up?
On my thing, I think it's just be something about evidence for Young Earth creationism, and it's a somewhat recent video. I've been playing like stuff on Waco just for fun lately, but you have to go.
You said it's called Bones and Stones by who?
Yeah, you can just look it up on just type in Bones and Stones on Walter Veith or whatever, or look at
Walter Beef.
Veith, yeah, Veith. You know who he is.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, you've brought him up to me.
I don't know who he is, bro. It's somebody else.
I thought you did.
Walter what?
Yeah, Veith.
Beit.
Yeah, he was an atheist. If you look up his testimony, it's just Walter Veith testimony. It's really freaking interesting. Like, excuse my language. He just like he gives a testimony to how he became a Christian. He was an atheist, and his wife was had a really her parents were like New Age ghost hunters or something, and like all sorts of weird stuff and like crazy stuff, like demon possession happened to his kid when his stepdad. Yeah, it's crazy. Check it out.
Well, I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah, that's that third one over. It looks like the picture from that video too, Veith's video. Yeah.
I'm gonna just see if I find the video.
It's like a series or whatever. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thing, man.
Now I was almost, I don't know how much you got left on your presentation, bro. Walter. Let's see. Stone and the Whole Truth, both in Stones. There we go. I think that's it.
And weird and very.
I don't think I ever seen him before.
It's like a series, so maybe Bones and Stones is like the actual series name. I can't remember, so I'd have to check. But anyway. That's actually my favorite argument, though. The erosion rates and uplift rates, like you can't really get away from it. If the present is the key to the past, then that totally undermines that whole idea, because even if you take the slowest rates of erosion, like it would have cycled through the whole geologic column on the Earth like 100 times, and they don't even really address it in the literature. Like they just kind of pretend like it's not nothing,
Yeah, that's how they get you. Because they just don't tell you shit.
Yeah, and people think it's all figured out, like because they teach a thing, and it's like, no, dude, a lot of that is just it's just a model. And even like the paleontologists or the archaeologists and stuff, like the ones that are honest about it, they know it's not all figured out. It's just like a working hypothesis, and there's many issues with just it being like this. It's acknowledged if you look deep in the literature, they'll admit it. Not that it means it's false because of that, but just that it's not. People get this idea like it's gospel because it was in a peer-reviewed paper, which is nonsense. I guess there's another cool video from Veritasium where he talks about is published literature wrong, and it is, like, just from a statistical analysis, it's not.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's true because it's peer reviewed.
And I mean, that's definitely can be said. A lot of questions of science, basically any field, there's all these kinds of theories that differ with one another. So if you've got something to review, well, how can you say that that's right or wrong when there's multiple sides of things that you could about, and it's all being published? There's only one theory that ain't been published, and that's God's theory. That ought to be fucking stopped. Excuse my French. Ugh, excuse me. I said something that offended.
I'm gonna stop screen sharing because
You're like cutting
breaking up, or it might be because I'm sharing a video. I'll just share this. That seems to be working.
I'm gonna watch. I'll leave and watch from the audience part. If that helps.
Nah, bro.
No,
You
it
can
work.
I
talk
don't
to
leave.
Jamie
The whole
Russell
reason I
Brown.
got you here is so I don't blast through this presentation in 15 minutes. Needs to
Yeah,
go a
let-
little while.
Yeah. I'll just chill back.
How much longer you got?
I don't
Oh,
know.
this is only part
think-
1, bro. We got part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coming up.
Who knows?
For
Yeah,
me,
Just the first review. That's true.
Is that me lagging? All right, I'll stop my screen share. What convinced me was the polystrate fossils. That was like, the trees being buried through different layers. That's what got me going from older to younger.
So, Jamie, you there?
Yeah. So
Can you, are you seeing this screen share here on the radiometric dating?
yeah.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how reliable do you think these dates are with the erosion rates that we see today? Scale of 1 to 10.
I don't
0.
I don't really think they're accurate at all, to be honest. But I have kind of a
Negative.
different view.
Is there
Like,
a
I don't
negative 10?
Yeah, I think they were created.
It's a lie.
I mean, I think they were created. The heavier elements were created in the flood, because the idea is. I think the idea, yeah, there's contamination and all that, but I think they're mainly like at present rate of decay. There is accurate information that would be gleaned from it, but I don't think the parent diet or isotope ratios are a result of time. I think they were created by the hydroplate theory, basically. But sorry, I didn't know if you're probably trying to go somewhere with that. I didn't mean to bog you down there.
And you know what gets
No,
me
I
with
was,
the carbon dating? With the carbon dating, that they go by the half-life of C14, and then that's how they come up with their dates. And it turns out the half-life supposed to be of C14 is like 5,800 years or something like that. I'm like, wait a minute. If the age of the Earth is about that, how are they gonna determine anything? So okay, I'm sorry, that was it. Carry on.
No, y'all need to quit apologizing and just rant with everything that you have, so that
So I think
You know,
I think carbon dating is somewhat accurate, like for a general in certain circumstances. But I don't think the Earth is old. So, like, I think there was different rates of making carbon 12 into carbon 14. That's an issue. And then so like there's certain things you can date like to some accuracy with it, but there's contamination. Like the funniest thing is that they find the carbon 14 in basically every fossilized bone. It seems like I heard but I would definitely recommend I'll put it in the chat, but this convinced me. I think the hydroplate theory, like, it's not perfect, but I think generally it's right. So like, because he talks about when the plates were fluttering, it caused like huge amounts of electric discharge in the granite plates, and then through like a fusion style process. It creates heavy elements, like really heavy elements. And then they broke down instantly into like basically the ratios that you'd expect over time at the normal rate. But since the elements were like fused together and then like literally instantly broke down, and they break down into similar isotopes in that process, as you would see happen over time with present rates of decay of these isotopes. And so it literally can produce them in what would look like a certain amount of time at present rate. So it's not really like speeding up, because I think speeding up stuff is a problem. I just don't see a way to do that feasibly without causing issues. But the fusion process can like absorb the heat released from the breakdown of the whole process. It's interesting. I don't know. It's highly theoretical, but it seems like you see evidence that it's legit, like that granite can do that. They don't really understand it totally, but we know that like quartz exists in the granite, which can create, electric discharge. And that could be the cause of like what they call earthquake lights that they see around mountains when there's earthquakes. And like people think they're UFOs, but they're probably just discharge from the granite plates when the earthquake happens and stuff like that. But you can imagine how much could be produced with the fluttering of these like worldwide plates as water's, shooting out of the fountains of the deep. It would just be incredible. And they find chondrules, which are like electrical discharges, like coming up through the rock, which just looks like extremely high, electrical discharge, like melting up through the granite in places. So it's crazy. It's really interesting. But go to Brian Nickel. He covers in depth Walt Brown's theory, the hydroplate theory. So it's like he goes into the detail and he makes really good diagrams. And if you look like the origin of Earth's radioactive decay by Brian Nickel's channel, it's really, really good.
So yeah, I'm just gonna double literally the C14 stuff, like the half-life, right? That's how they kind of figure out. They just say, every time it has a half-life. So how long is the half-life? It's 5,730 years. And then, that gets me because we're in the year 5,782. So it's pretty much, and I want to say, if you look up when carbon dating was invented, it was probably, maybe they just wrote what year are we in the Hebrew calendar. That's how they came up with the half-life of carbon. Like, all right, I'm done. All
yeah,
right.
that means that's how long it would take for it to half of it to decay. So it'd be like you lose half of it every time.
But the whole problem with that is, if the world is only 5,730 years old, then it's like a big I don't know, man. To me, it's just
yeah, you don't potentially need a whole half-life to have taken place to take a measurement. Like you can do like very like, so like it is a process that happens. Like that's an empirical fact that it decays at a certain rate, and we can measure that fairly precisely, carefully, right? So it's not like totally illegitimate, made up, but it's
almost seems
lots of
like
reasons
it
to
to
think
me.
it's suspect, like as
It's
far
very
as
suspect.
being sure.
Well,
But like
the
you can
biggest problem with it is finding it in because it can only last for no more than 6,000 years, like 10,000 max if you just drag out all the half-lives that you can measure. Or I think it's probably even like 100,000 is the maximum lifespan of any carbon-14.
Yeah.
Well, if that's true, why are you finding
5,000.
appreciable percentages of it in coal seams, in dinosaur fossils, in diamonds? You can't say it's contamination that it came from outside of the diamond, because you can't get inside the diamond with anything.
Yeah, it's the diamond and the zircon crystals but that's the helium and the zircon crystals. Yeah, there's like, that seems like to me to be a defeater for the theory. Like if you find carbon-14 and diamonds and stuff, or you find helium in zircon crystals, there's no way it's that old. There's just no way, because the helium would have all leaked out. It's just not. That's a defeating fact to that whole idea. They really don't have any. And if it's contamination somehow, which is almost impossible, it seems to me, they have some ways of trying to explain it away, but it's suspect, because if contamination that that severe can happen, then it just kind of throws the whole thing out then, because how do you know there's not how much contamination there is or not? How would you know?
Also, does carbon decay at the same rate if it's in a freezer or a refrigerator or underwater? It's not a constant.
Yeah, I forget it was one of those radioactive elements that just simply adding water will rapidly speed up its decay rate. Like all you have to do is add water, and then it's suddenly millions of years older than it was 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, soluble and stuff like that. Certain kinds are water soluble. Really, so if water gets in there, it totally can screw it up and take the water, like, absorb it up or whatever. I forget what they call that, soluble, I guess.
Yeah. But what you said, Jamie, about the hydroplate theory and the origin of the elements, that was spot on. So I think we devastated that page of this textbook. And, that particular lie, that's probably the most popular one. That's how they fight the battle and win it. It's radiometric dating. That's the time, they need time to make the theory make sense. So a lot of their propaganda machine actually goes into promoting the idea that those dates can be trusted. They're just, I don't know. Like we've already said, is the trick to getting people to believe a lie is simply to hide the truth from them. And then what are they going to say, right? Everybody says this, we all agree to this, and nobody talks about the other stuff. So obviously most people are just going to believe it because they're not being told the other half of the story. That's like blindfolding a jury, It's like if you went to court and you only heard the prosecutor's side. Well, there's something wrong with that. That's why they have both sides there. Hello. Give me something else to think about instead of the same thing from first grade all the way until I graduate and even well into college. You just continue to teach the same thing over and over. It's like reminds me of the high schooler who's in classroom and he can't quit complaining about how he's seen this same damn video since he entered the first grade. It's like, why do you keep showing me the same stuff over and over? That's why the kids don't want to go to school, because they're not learning there. They're just getting handed like a pamphlet. If you want these kids to learn, you need to reach their heart, It drives me crazy.
Yeah, is what I notice is that, and they're really smart people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're dumb or like easily fooled, but like the thing with the way they teach the different theories or models, people think they end up thinking that's fact, and they can't differentiate between which parts are running model or hypothesis and which parts are the actual facts, and they lose track of what a fact is or what the data is, rather as opposed to what's their working model that they've just kind of built as an underlying structure that they've gone with. And so people think it's like they think when they do radiometric dating that they're like measuring age particles. That's the way I like to say it. They're like, show me the age particles in the stuff. It's like, no, there has to be assumptions, and there's other ways of describing, like the process is real. Like all things being clean and pure or whatever, as far as like, measuring, we can measure how fast they decay and what they decay into. And then you can measure generally, how much of each is in there. And that's legit. But like, there's so many factors or assumptions. You have to assume like everything happened at the same rate. There's no contamination. There isn't any other processes that could have, occurred that made these things where they are. And then, but they talk as if they're measuring particles of age. Like, you can't know the age of something like that, like for sure. That is, it can be reasonable assumptions or whatever, but they teach kids and they think it's like fact without like letting them think for themselves. That's really the sad part.
Well, for instance, it says here that zircon crystals that form as molten rock cools. Okay, molten rock cools at a what does that say? Thus, new zircon crystals that form as molten rock cools contain no lead. However, uranium decays into lead at a predictable rate. They say this is happening in tiny zircon crystals, which are in very, very deep strata in Precambrian bedrock. Okay, it's granite, and it's under miles and miles of sedimentary rock and dirt. So these little tiny zircon crystals, as Jamie just mentioned, actually have helium in them, which is what? The lightest gas that there is in the entire universe. And somehow it's going to stay under all of that weight when it's a rapidly escaping gas. Like, how is that even possible for helium to be contained in a zircon crystal? And then at the same time, you're going to turn around and say that because the rate at which uranium decays into lead in that zircon crystal, it's billions of years old. There is a glaring contradiction just within one little zircon crystal. Recent fossils, it says, that still contain carbon can be dated by measuring their carbon-14 content. Most of the C14 in a fossil will have decayed after about 60,000 years. So we're down to 60,000 years breadcrumbs, okay, when we're talking about carbon being found in coal. It's supposed to be millions of years old. Well, if it can't last for more than 60,000, what's going on?
Yeah, the coal's one thing. Finding it in the coal is maybe a little more reasonable to think that there'd be contamination. It seems to me, anyways, logically speaking. But like in dinosaur bones, like carbon-14 is absorbed in living animals or living plants. Because animals will eat plants essentially, right? Because it comes from the radiation in the atmosphere, and so plant eating animals eat the plants. So that's how they get carbon-14 inside of them. And then carnivores eat those animals, and so they get the carbon-14 from those animals. That's how it gets into their bones or whatever. So the idea that like carbon-14 is just leaking around everywhere and to contaminate those bones, and like it's in like almost any of them, it's like that doesn't make. I mean, they don't even test them. That's the thing. All the ones that I've heard that they have tested for carbon-14, they just say, "Oh, it's contamination," because it has to be because of our theory, or our theory is wrong. But so they don't test it. They don't want to test it. But when people have managed to, it's in there. It makes no sense because carbon-14 automatically decays at that rate. Half of it decays out, away. There's no stopping that. That's the nuclear decay process. Like there's no like keeping that from happening. So the fact that it exists and they're supposed to be millions of years old is literally almost impossible. Like how would that get in there? It just doesn't work. It's literally, that's a defeater. It's incredible. It should be a defeating argument or a defeating fact of point of data.
Yep, and it's people like you, Jamie. It's why Jackson, what is his name? Jackson Wheat. I tried to get on a live stream of his earlier. He actually, I just said a couple of words, After 2 comments, he was like, yeah, he's a creationist. I'm not dealing with it, and hid my comment. Like, I even debated that guy a few months ago. I don't think he's really willing to talk anymore.
Yeah,
they're humiliated.
Sorry, there's a lag. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good.
So I think they basically just think we're dumb and they're smart and we don't get it. It's stupid. A lot of the times you just can't have a conversation with people like they know you're wrong and you're just simping for Jesus or whatever. And so it just goes to show that no matter what we end up finding, the dinosaur soft tissue thing, it should have been a huge wake up call for people. They'll take anything they can as a rescue device and accept it because they know that they're smart and we're dumb. They're sciencey and we're not.
I think that there was a Bible verse about that. talking about how to the Greeks, they seek after wisdom, and the preaching of the cross was foolishness unto them. No, sad.
Yep, Romans 1, the end of Romans 1, 2 Peter, 3rd chapter is a good one too. It just, yeah, it doesn't, even if one raised from the dead.
Man, it's horrible. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is God's plan. Is actually blindfold those people to where they can't see. Romans 1, it says it right there. You can read it if you want. Read and weep. God gave them up. God gave them up. God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, such as bullying from. That's not convenient. Let's move on. This is what is this? Homologous structures. So you have different structures in different animals, such as the penguin, the chicken, or the reptile, and the human and the bat. They all have, for instance, radius and ulna. Okay, they have like a limb with 5 or 4 digits coming out of it. And that's supposed to actually prove that we all came from one kind of animal. But I'm just wondering if there's maybe another way to look at it rather than common ancestry. Maybe we could get those gears going. Maybe we could find a way out of this horrible situation that we found ourselves in as creationists, as people that believe the Bible. Well, here you go. You got proof that God doesn't exist right here. You got a bat that has a very similar structure to a human. So it must mean that the bat and the human came from one animal long before either of them came into existence. That's one way of thinking, right?
The bat came from a fish. Just kidding.
But that's only one way.
Sorry, buddy. It's lagging really bad.
Go ahead. No, you're good. You're good.
Just for comic relief, I got a short 5-second clip for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm putting it up.
The crane, the stag, the horse, the tiger, the bat, the rat, the monkey, the beetle.
Sorry, I'm weird like that.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
No, I love that show. It's good. Wayne's World. Party time. Excellent. It's great. That's a great movie.
Forgot what the movie was about.
Wayne's World 2. He meets Cassandra's dad, and then he wants to fight him or whatever.
So what do you think, Iger? You think that there could be another way to explain why there's similar structures in all of the animals? Like, why do we share a lot of the same DNA with a peanut, for instance?
All right, because we got a common designer, bro, and it just so happens that man, everything was made from the earth, so everything's gonna be all life even is made with pretty much the same composition.
Yeah, similar locomotion in a similar gravity environment and the same kind of atmospheric pressure and things that work. And and with common designer and common, living in the same biome is going to make it. I'm sure there's a lot of things that need to have similar DNA and, for all the different ways that we have similar digestion, similar, locomotion, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everything comes from the earth, so we're gonna have a lot of similarities even with trees and plants. That's what we eat. So so yeah, everything's gonna be pretty much about. I think we're all pretty much made of about the same, like carbon and I forget water. Basically, it's like we're all kind of like made out of the same things. Even the bananas and the people, we're all pretty much. We all come from the ground. We all come from the dirt.
Yeah, you think about it, like we all do similar things. We climb things, we walk, we move in the same. I mean, it makes sense that you that even God would design different systems and then build upon them and modify them for the different kinds of creatures.
Yeah, evolution. I guess does make a
Well,
little
that's
bit of sense.
funny because Satan, you know, he's put this in the textbooks, and it's like it's like he knew that people were not going to investigate it. It's like, well, yeah, obviously we just like it's a common designer thing, you know. You can switch the lug nuts of a Pontiac and put them in the on a Chevy. It works because they're made from the same people. But guess what? Nobody's going to think of that. Well, here's a great idea. We'll just say it was from a common designer because nobody has a big enough right to
You're breaking up again, bro.
came to life.
I don't know why. I don't know why you're roboting a lot. Are you? Do you have a lot of tabs open on your laptop? Maybe that's what. Like especially on the internet. I don't think it's Jamie Russell. I think it was maybe you got too many screens open. Not the stuff you're sharing your presentation, but all the other tabs. They have any videos running in the background. Oh snap! Where did everybody go? Microphone check 1 2 1 2. All right. Let me check on the chat real quick. So after Jamie Russell joined, I got a message in the private chat. I will come back in. Be right back, Jamie Russell. All right. I can't let you in, but hopefully Christopher comes back by then. The 50 plus wells preserved in a small area. Peter Lee said, says carbon dating been debunked in the 1900s. Peter Lee says to hide the truth and repeat the lie. Do quite. All right. All right. Yeah. So back to my monologue. Yeah. You know, they teach the kids it all started with a big bang 14 billion years ago. That the Earth came to be 4.5 billion years ago. That we came from the first single cell organism came to be from non-organic matter 4 billion years ago. And then this thing eventually evolved into a fish that turned into an amphibian, and the amphibian to a reptile, the reptile to a bird, the bird to a mammal. Then you got the creation side saying that God made everything in 6 days, about 6,000 years ago, and the Bible's literally true. He hasn't lied or skipped a beat ever since they started writing it about 6,000 years ago. I guess maybe people will say Moses wrote it, so it would be more like around 3,000, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. Let me see if I got any good creation songs that are not too crazy. Oh, welcome back, bro. I thought you left me.
Nah, I don't know what happened. It crashed.
I don't know what you. I'm telling you. I think you have something running on in the background. Maybe too many videos on the tabs because you were starting to robot a lot.
Yeah, nothing is open except the PowerPoint and the stream.
Well, then I have no idea what happened, bro.
It's pretty windy outside. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know, man.
But I was saying that isn't it amazing that until you're introduced to someone like Kent Hovind, you don't even think of the obvious. It's like the most crazy thing because not a lot of people can see that. We I get on the atheists hard, because they can't. They're having a hard time trouble. They're having a hard time seeing what I can explain to them, to their face, like I can tell them, and they still they can't see it. They're just like, "What? What are you even talking about, man? Like, what are you smoking? You think that it was a common designer?" But it's pretty simple solution there. So homologous structure is not very complicated. Uh, if you tried to use that as evidence in a honest court of law, it would be laughed at by the jury. I could do it, in a court, an honest court of law. The reason that creationists wasn't successful in the courtrooms is because those were big-headed, biased Christians that were trying to remove evolution from the textbooks. They didn't want it in. That's not scientific either, to suppress one view or another. You have to look at all possibilities. So they were trying to keep evolution out of the textbooks and trying to keep creationism in the textbooks. Neither of them are lawful in America. What we should do is teach science in the classroom, and if we want to discuss origins, we can have an origins class. We shouldn't call it science. We should at least put it in a different class. We discussed Pangea already. This is the Big Bang Theory. We talked about that. Over millions of years, it says gravity drew the gases together and they condensed to form giant stars. Wow.
Yeah, don't get me started, bro.
Is that the way that it happened, Iger? You think?
Nah, bro. I think the stars were spoken into existence, and I think think I showed you before, but yeah, I think there's just little lights up there. If you want, I could pull that up. That's one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite things that convinced me we lived in a geocentric world. Was the
Where'd
stars?
Jamie go?
He left right before you left. So, and but there's a comment in the side chat says that he'll be back,
Okay.
but he left right before you left. He just dropped out too, but he said he'll be back.
Well, yeah, while you're looking for that, let's think outside of Pandora's box here again. Let's break out. Let's break out. Is there evidence that you can achieve even a small, sustainable nuclear fusion reaction in the laboratory? We have a lot of machines that would make this possible, but we still can't do it. That's what a star is, according to their own theory, is a fusion, a sustained fusion reaction where elements in the center of the star are fusing, letting off energy, which is producing the heat and the brightness that we see. Well, because the gravity is basically the weight of it is causing these elements to fuse together, that's how it has sustained itself. The energy is trapped within the core of the star. So that's how the fusion is sustained. And the fusion laboratories that we have, you cannot sustain the fusion. You can produce fusion like artificial gold, but it's going to be a very small amount, and it's going to cost a lot more to make the gold than it would be to just dig it out of the earth and sell it. So it's not practical at all, and it's not sustained. So if there's nothing that we can do with all of our advances in science to sustain a fusion reaction, how is it that they all condensed in the vacuum of space to fuse together?
Yeah, that's really what gets me too. Is supposedly the sun is made out of helium, right? Is it made
Yeah.
out? All right, whatever gas is made out of, anyways. Like if you put gas in vacuum, it's just gonna dissipate into nothingness. But how did it have gravity to begin with to pull the rest of the gas together towards the center? Where did the gravity to make these supposed stars come from to begin with?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Where does gravity come from? But
Not where does gravity come from, but in the case of the sun, if it's made out of gas, that's just how did this gas concentrate itself into a middle point in a vacuum? Where did the gravity originate? Because if you have a container of gas, let's say a balloon, and you open it, all the air is going to dissipate. So how did it form itself together to begin with? What caused it to form together if it's a big ball of burning gas? All right, bro,
yeah,
I'm almost done, man. I gotta go inside soon. I don't know if Jamie's gonna come back or not, but if he
yeah.
is,
Let's finish this up real quick then, so you can get out of here.
all right, go for it.
I'm gonna say that. Oh, oh, here we are. Stellar evolution is a giant bogus lie because if it all started from a single point and expanded to something that's billions of light years across or whatever, well, how's it coming back together? Even if it wasn't a gas, if it was just dust, how's it ever going to come back together? It's dumb. Abortion is justified with evolution theory. It's the only way to somehow scientifically justify abortion is to say that the embryonic development of a human is similar to that of a fish, therefore the fish evolved into a fisherman. This is another case of the homologous structures. You see something similar going on in the reproduction of a fish as you do in the embryo of a human, and so one evolved from the other. But that's not good logic. I could say that there's similarities in Microsoft PowerPoint and Word. You could say that there's similarities in, you know, I don't know. You can't say that because the Chevy and the Pontiac have similarities that they evolved from a skateboard, or that because Microsoft and PowerPoint have similarities that they evolved from Morse code. But somehow we're supposed to believe that because there's similarities between a fish and a human that they evolved from one another, even though no way is it possible to produce a different kind of animal from starting out from a specific kind. A fish produces a fish, a human produces a human. There's nothing in the laboratory that's going to be able to justify this. Now, saying a human is not a human until it comes out of the womb and starts crying, that's one discussion. But to say that the human evolved from some kind of a fish because their similarities is an over-exaggeration. It is true that there are similarities, but it is limited. Those similarities are limited. You're not going to be able to get, a match. You can have 20% similarity, or even 80%, let's say, in between a human and an ape. But that other 20% is what you need to make the drastic changes, and they're not available. Neither will they ever be available. The peppered moth is another lie, because they actually glued that black moth to the tree to take the picture. They took the picture of the dead moth that they glued on the tree, and that's how we get this. What this is very quickly, all the trees in this area were turned black, and so you had these little peppered moths. They're partially white and partially black. So the ones that the little moths that have baby moths that are all black, they would be able to survive in the black environment and not be seen by the predators, and therefore they would continue the moth evolution. But here is the obvious fact that anybody should be able to see if you're actually thinking. It's still a moth. Despite the fact that it's a fake, it's still a moth even if it were true. Miller-Urey, we already discussed that. Yeah. So lastly, it says here at the last page, any water falling on Earth's molten surface evaporated immediately. As the surface cooled, rocks formed. Later, rains washed mineral salts out of these rocks, and the salty runoff pooled in early seas, and it was in these seas that life began. So, boys and girls, what that means is, long ago and far away, the Earth started out as a hot molten state, and it got really hot and produced gas clouds, and the gas clouds rained on the rocks and cooled them off, and it solidified into a hard and brittle rocky crust, and then pools of chemicals developed on it and then turned the rocks into soup, and the soup came alive, And here we are. It sounds ridiculous.
Sounds like a religion to me, a bad religion with a lot of faith involved.
But you can get a first grader to believe anything you tell them, even a high schooler, because God knows high schoolers are not thinking with their heads, okay? They're thinking with their heads, but it ain't the one up here. So they're not really concerned about homologous structures or evolution theory or anything like that. So if they're, it doesn't matter. They can push it into the curriculum if they want to. The high schoolers aren't going to fight back. And we shouldn't be sending high schoolers off to war anyways. We should be fighting this battle. Which, what we're doing here, Iger, is a part of that battle. It probably won't go very far, but it will certainly strengthen the faith of at least me, you, and Jamie, who are here. We are iron sharpening iron.
Peter, Peter in the chat, thanks for coming too.
Yeah, Peter, we love you. Peter Lee Young, you're
He
awesome.
came in. He came in last time we were on together, bro.
Yeah, I wish he would come in again.
Came in for a little bit, but he works like the third shift, so he only comes in for a little bit.
Maybe he's drunk too much Bacardi. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, gotta change your emoji, bro. Get you a more Christian emoji.
Nah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but to God, what is really important? Quitting drinking or stopping children from eventually growing up and going to hell because they were taught by a professor that they share a common heritage with an earthworm? Let's weigh it here, because I look at things in those terms. God sees, he sees people on this earth that are doing like fornication, and he sees a lot of bad things. But not all sin is equal. That's why every sin in the Bible doesn't carry the death penalty, because it's not all equal. Any sin will send you to hell, but not all sin is equal. And teaching evolution to a little child is one of the most dangerous things that you could possibly do. In conclusion, I guess I'll say, and you could say some final words, Iger, but I'm just going to say, if you're an atheist out there, you're Aaron Raw, for instance, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, and it's not going to work out for you on Judgment Day. You think that destroying the faith of a little child is safe? Well, Jesus said, if you should offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it would be better for you if you had a millstone hanged about your neck and you were cast into the depth of the sea. Because the place that you're going after you die is a place of torment and fire that never ends. And that's why Jesus said that. Because it's going to be a lot worse for you in that place than it would be to be drowned in the ocean. Okay? Jesus said, if your eye offends you, pluck it out and cast it from you, because it's better that one of your members should perish than that your whole body should be cast into hell, where the fire is not quenched and the worm dieth not. Read the last chapter of Isaiah. All right, Iger, what do you want to
I just want to thank you for inviting me to come on this. We got to do it again sometime. I feel like you got a whole series lined up, so keep me posted, bro. I'll join next time too if you have one of these lies in the textbook series. It was pretty fun. And yeah, thank you, Peter Lee, for coming in, and Jamie Russell, and you for having me, and anybody else watching this later. I hope that you come to realize that we're being lied to by the devil in so many different things, and there is a way out in this salvation through Jesus Christ. And yeah, I hope you come to him and follow him and ask for forgiveness for all your sins. If we're judged by the Ten Commandments, we're all doomed to hell. But luckily, God sent His Son to so that through him we could ask forgiveness for our sins. So yeah, I hope you guys get to know Jesus better, and especially in these times where it seems like we're about to start the Great Tribulation any minute if it hasn't started already. All right,
So you want to do that serenity prayer thing you do?
serenity prayers. God, please grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the strength to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. In your Son Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen.
All
All
right,
right, I'm
bro.
out,
Have a good
Iger.
night.
I'll hit you up. See ya.
Yeah, hit me up. Keep me posted, bro.
God bless America. Or should we even say that? I don't know. I'm getting out
Why
of here
not?
before I say
God
anything
bless
else.
America, bro. Hopefully, He gets us all through this.
Yeah.
Amen,
Trump
bro.
2024.
It's better than Biden, but he's still just a puppet, bro. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ
that's true too.
2028.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
bro. Have a good night.
All right, later.
There was a channel I used to follow.